everyone, my name is Cecilia and today I'll be discussing my thoughts on insanity defense. Insanity defense is mainly used in criminal prosecutions. It is formed on the supposition that at the time of the crime, the defendant was affected from mental illness and therefore was not capable of understanding the nature of the crime, nor the knowledge of difference between right and wrong behavior, making the defendant not legally accountable for the crime committed. In insanity plea, a defendant basically says, I did the deed, but at the time, I didn't know what was right from wrong. And right from wrong is the root of insanity defense. It is an excuse defense that if the jury finds that a defendant was insane, it must be considered not guilty, although it relies on expert testimony. Suffering from mental illness or disorder, it is not enough to prove insanity. Evidence and examinations have to be performed to make a decision on providing a fair trial. Insanity defense is not considered a clinical concept, but it is a legal concept. The insanity defense originated in the early 20th century, where the case of Peter C. Hennings Jr. was presented. In a newspaper, the case of the trial was announced of a young man who was being accused of murder. Peter C. Hennings, the defendant, was the only one present at the scene of the crime and does not recall any of the events of that night. In this case, the insanity plea was introduced, where the court decided that the prosecutor may introduce a counter-novelty by having experts to show the prisoner was sane. The case presented showed the acceptance of the insanity defense in the early centuries. The insanity defense ties in two different aspects of the daily American life. That will be society and the law. I believe us humans are very complex animals with very complex minds. During former President Nixon's administration, he was active in abolishing the insanity defense in crime. He believed that the issue of the defendant's mental state will arise during trial only if the arguments were so serious that the prosecution is unable to prove he had criminal intent at the time he acted. The idea of the insanity defense not being a valid defense started, of course, by Nixon, but was left unfinished after his resignation. After Nixon's resignation, President Ronald Reagan would later carry on the actions needed on the defense. President Reagan passed the Comprehensive Crime Control Act, where the federal law places a major responsibility on defendants by requiring that they prove insanity by clear and convincing evidence. The state of Missouri researched the mental health of people that were under mental health illness and one with the insanity defense. The state of Missouri worked side by side with counselors to observe the effectiveness of the insanity defense. The individual is taken into an inpatient and observed under the forensic monitoring system. The purpose of the experiment was to be the validity of the plea, as well as the risk factors and hospitalization of the patients. J.V. Reynolds, researcher of behavioral sciences and the law, commented on the findings. The success of the Missouri system does not come at a cost in financial resources, individual liberty, and precious bed space for inpatient care. The success of the state of Missouri sets an example of how the insanity defense can be if carried out efficiently. Basic statistics were taken over the opinion of the insanity plea, where the researchers found that the potential users overestimated the use of success of insanity at a rate of defense. The ignorance of people in the insanity defense drives away a valid case and delays the justice system entirely. With the study posed, the ignorance of the participants is in plain sight. The research was done by Neil Cowan-Smith, and he believed that there was considerable room for improvement. The insanity defense states that the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity. Speculating the person sane cannot have the intention required to accomplish a criminal act because they cannot control their actions. Insanity is difficult to clarify because there is no proper diagnostic to determine if a person has a mental illness or is just insane. Also, there are other circumstances where insanity can be used to excuse criminal responsibilities, and that can be unfair. Okay, so you guys are all maybe wondering how these people somehow are not guilty of these crimes. Well, it all goes back to fundamentals. You have to intentionally commit a crime to be able to find guilty of it. The idea of mental illness is the perception of reality that a person doesn't actually know what they're doing, which is the central idea of this defense. I am not against it because I do highly believe in mental illness and losing control of your actions, but then again, there are always going to be those people who would try to use this defense to escape a different punishment for their crime. And that's why I believe it's important to have experts involved and other tests to determine if a person is actually ill or just pretending. If you guys have any questions, comment, but that's all I have for you guys, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.